and welcome. You're listening to the Just Love Them podcast. I'm your host, Cherie Best. Join me to discover how to stay connected, find healing, and keep loving those who no longer share our religion. You know, when you're out walking somewhere and all of a sudden you get a hard pebble in your shoe? It's so uncomfortable that you can't just tolerate it and keep going. You have to stop and get it out. It may have even been in there all along. It was hiding in a crack or a crevice. It was undetected until you shifted your foot a certain way and shook it loose. And even though it's tiny, that pebble is so uncomfortable that you stop immediately, take your shoe off, and get rid of that little pebble. I find the same thing happens with my heart. Sometimes I discover there is a little hard pebble of some negative feeling that I didn't even know was there. It's hiding undetected in a crack or a crevice in my heart somewhere until something happens in my life that shifts my heart in a certain way and shakes it loose. Suddenly, I am very aware of it. And even though it may be tiny, it's so uncomfortable that it causes me to stop and notice. I used to try to ignore these little hard pebbles in my heart. I used to try to keep just hobbling around despite the discomfort. But why? I would never do that with a pebble in my shoe. Why would I put up with that discomfort in my heart? I've tried over time to change, to stop and get rid of that hard pebble that's causing pain in my heart. Just last week, I had another pebble shake loose and cause discomfort to my heart. I hadn't even known that it had been there for years. Here's what happened. When our children were growing up, our middle daughter had a cousin just her age. From the time they were little, they were very good friends and were absolutely adorable together. Though they did not live in close proximity, whenever my daughter and my niece, let's call her Olivia, got together, it was like no time had gone by. They would pick up with each other as if they had seen each other every single day. Olivia came from a much different kind of household than ours, and she was the only girl in her family as well. So when she got old enough for sleepovers, the two girls started begging me to have sleepovers at our house. Because of the distance between where we lived and where Olivia lived, it didn't make sense to have a one-night sleepover and then drive her all the way back the next day. So we had extended sleepovers. As the girls got older, this turned into having her stay for long periods of time during the summer, even a month or more at a time. I loved Olivia as though she was my own child. I made her birthday cakes right along with my own children. I read to her. I talked to her. I included her in everything that our family was doing as if she was one of my own children. I never wanted her to go home when the time came that her mother finally insisted that she come home every summer. And she never wanted to go home either, it seemed. Then came the summer that she and my daughter were 15. Both Olivia and my daughter had entered the teenage phase, where that sweet child we once knew seems to disappear and is replaced by a mouthy, sarcastic stranger who seems to think that you are suddenly the dumbest person on the planet and beneath their contempt. That summer was difficult. The girls were both not very nice to the other children or to me. They were not grateful or pleasant. Dare I say they were little monsters? For so they were. They were also very interested in meeting up with boys and colluded together to lie and sneak out to see these boys. It was not a very fun summer for me, and I sent Olivia home sooner than I'd planned. Olivia didn't come back after that. By the next summer, the girls had turned 16 and had gotten jobs for the summer. I wasn't interested in a repeat of the previous summer anyway, and things sort of drifted apart. I used to make each of my children a special quilt when they graduated from high school, made from the jeans that they had worn when they were growing up. I had planned to make Olivia one too because I still loved her like one of my own. The few times we saw her during high school, the girls were still really good friends, but she was kind of cool and distant with me. I felt rejected by her. I realize now that this was a pure case of a teenager being a teenager. But at the time, I took it personally as a rejection. And because we weren't living in the same house, there was no real opportunity to talk anything out or resolve anything. Not like it's easy to resolve anything easily anyway with dealing with a teenage brain, at least in my experience. And I never ended up making her that quilt. Things were never the same with Olivia. She became a mother at a very early age, and she soon had several children. She seldom came to family events and was in and out of relationships. When I did see her, I was warm and friendly, and so was she. It was nice. Our hearts had mended. I was glad because deep down, I still loved her so much. One summer, we had an unexpectedly wonderful conversation, the two of us. Olivia expressed how much she missed being with our family and how much she would like to drive down and spend time with us. We happened to have a 4th of July barbecue coming up, and I invited her to come. She said her children would be with their dads, and she would be available and would love to come. I thought it would be such a fun surprise for my children to have her just show up at the barbecue. So I told them we had a special guest coming, but they'd have to wait and see who it was. The time came for the barbecue, and all my children arrived. We bustled around cooking and preparing together. We waited for the special guest. She was late. I went into the other room and called to see if she was close by. We didn't want to start without her, but there was no answer on her phone. We decided to go ahead and eat. She was probably just running late. We had a marvelous time eating and visiting, but it got later and later, and no Olivia. I called several more times with no answer. Finally, it was time to go. I finally had told the children who the special guest was that didn't show up, and we were all disappointed. The next day, Olivia sent me a long text explaining that she had totally planned on coming. She'd even planned what she was going to wear, but that her anxiety had gotten the best of her, and she just couldn't do it. She was sorry. Texted her back and told her it was okay, I understood, and that we missed her. I thought I was fine. I didn't realize that a little pebble had formed in my heart over the years. I couldn't feel it. I wasn't thinking about it. It just stayed hidden in a crevice somewhere until last week. A couple of weeks before last week, I had learned that Olivia's boyfriend that she'd been with for a year had killed himself. When I learned about this, the funeral was scheduled for 2 days later. I was surprised that we'd not been told about this sooner. Olivia had been in the home at the time that her boyfriend took his life, along with her children, and my heart ached for her. I wanted to support, to comfort. I wanted to attend the funeral, but was told it was only for close friends and family. And since we didn't know the man and weren't that close with Olivia, I felt like we were not invited. I began to pray for Olivia and for her children, that they would be okay, that they would be surrounded by angels, that they would heal. Shortly after that, Olivia was walking along a busy road when it was dark. I don't know where she was going. I don't know what she was doing, but as she attempted to cross a busy street in the dark, she was hit by a car. She was not killed, but she was seriously injured. Broken ribs, broken neck, broken facial bones, among other things. She was in rough physical shape. When she came home from the hospital, she was not even able to take care of herself or her children. Nearby family jumped in to help. Because she and her boyfriend had been sharing a house, once he died, Olivia went from two incomes to one. After being hit by a car, their income went to zero. Olivia was not able to work and didn't know when she would be able to return to a job. No one in the family was wealthy enough to sustain her, and rent and bills were coming due, with medical bills coming on the heels. A GoFundMe account was set up. My generous children suggested that instead of doing Christmas for each other this year, maybe we could all donate what we would have spent to help Olivia. This was agreed upon, and the children sent their funds her way. Last week, as my husband and I talked about what we could afford to send, my husband suggested a much larger amount than what I was thinking. And this is where the pebbles shook loose. Just as you step on a pebble in your shoe and get that sudden twinge of pain, that's just what happened to me. As we talked about how much to contribute, which would truly be a sacrifice, a stab of pain went through my heart from that hard little pebble. I hadn't even realized it was there, but I suddenly became very aware of it. It felt like it was hard and black and made of negative feelings. Feelings of being taken advantage of by Olivia, feeling unappreciated, feeling like I had poured my whole heart into her and gotten nothing back. Ouch. It hurt. And because it hurt, I didn't feel generous. I felt like I was pouring water into a bucket full of holes, like there was no return on the relationship. Yes, I am ashamed to say I didn't feel as much like helping because of that hard little pebble in my heart. That's the danger of pebbles in our heart. They harden our heart. They stop us from being our best selves. They stop us from acting in Christ-like ways. They cause us to act in more petty and worldly ways, in selfish ways, in ungenerous and unforgiving ways. I was fully aware that I was not being Christ-like, that I was still harboring hurt from a teenage girl, and a girl who had lived a hard life but was doing the best she could. I realized all of this in my head, but my heart was still hurting and reluctant. I decided to take my heart to God and have it healed. Because while I am very good at taking off my shoe and getting a pebble out, I'm not so good at removing pebbles from my heart. In my prayer, I told God that I knew the way I was feeling was wrong. I told him that I'd felt taken advantage of, that the love I had given so freely had not been cherished or reciprocated, that I still felt hurt, and that I couldn't fix it on my own. I also told him that I really wanted that pebble removed. I wanted to feel unconditional love for this niece. I wanted to love her and see her as God did, and not from my selfish and hurt place. I wanted to help her financially to the amount He wanted us to contribute, and I couldn't discern what that was while this negative pebble was blocking me from feeling the Spirit. I felt prompted to do a write and burn. If you've been listening, you've heard me talk about write and burns before. If you're new, I'll leave a link to learn more in the show notes. I did the write and burn. I wrote everything I could think of, all the yucky feelings and the hurt, justified or not. I got it all out on that piece of paper and then I burned it. That felt good, but it wasn't enough. I went back to God in prayer and I begged Him to replace my hard little pebble with love. Sometimes when I ask for this miracle, for it surely is a miracle each time, He instantly changes my heart. Other times it's more gradual, and that was the case this time. The negative feelings slowly dissipated. I began to feel a sense of relief. I began to feel love. I came to feel a strong desire to just do what God wanted me to do concerning helping Olivia. I felt that I could find out what His will was concerning how much to contribute, now that I didn't have that pebble blocking my spirit, now that I could feel love and compassion. And who needed compassion more than this niece, this beautiful and troubled daughter of God who had lost her companion, financial security, and her health, all within weeks of each other? I knew that I would want to help a stranger in that situation. How much more now I wanted to help her because she is my family. That pebble was truly gone. My heart was drawn to her. I'm guessing I'm not alone in having this experience of having a hard pebble dislodge and start hurting my heart. Among other painful life experiences, having people we care about deeply leave the church we love can be a source of pebbles and even large boulders in our heart. It can cause tremendous pain. And like having a pebble in your shoe, it can be removed. Are you aware of any pebbles in your heart right now that are causing you pain? If it was in your shoe, you would stop and resolve the problem immediately, wouldn't you? Why put up with it when it's in your heart? If you have a pebble hurting your heart right now, I invite you to stop and get it out. Stop and ask God to help you. Use the tools I have shared or any other method that God prompts you on. And I can leave some links in the show notes of other ways to get pebbles and rocks out of your heart. If no painful pebbles currently come to mind, just be aware. And when those pebbles do show themselves, don't put up with the pain. Do what it takes to get those pebbles out and get them out fast. because God doesn't want you to walk around in pain. He wants you to be happy. I'm leaving a link to my niece's GoFundMe account in the show notes in case you're feeling prompted to contribute. In any case, I hope you will think about what pebbles you have in your heart and get them out. Please join me again next time for another episode of Just Love Them.